Thank you, Rob. Hey, Paul, good to see you. Last night, Andrew said you guys were willing to kind of sweat it out and wait for Newsome. Was that not the case tonight with the Notre Dame linebacker?
Yeah, we weren't really expecting him to get quite that far. There were a couple players we were definitely interested in going into today that we thought it might be worth moving up to around 50 or thereabouts to try to go get if they were there. And, once we saw that he got there, we were pretty aggressive in terms of trying to get up there and get him.
What do you like most about Jeremiah? We've heard a lot of good things about him going sideline to sideline and being very versatile. What appealed most to you guys?
Yeah, I think speed and instincts. I think he just fits our scheme perfectly in terms of the way we want to play. He's very, very good against both the run and the pass. We think he can stay on the field the whole time, but he really just fits our scheme to a T.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Dan Lobby, you're up. Dan, I believe your microphone is still muted on your side. If you could. You want to hang tight? We'll come back to you in a moment, Dan. We'll go to Jeff Shadell. Jeff, if you could hit unmute. Go ahead, Jeff. All right, third time's the charm. Daryl Ryder, go ahead.
Hey, Paul, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, there we go. Just wanted to ask you about the trade tonight and moving up and just do you have like a value chart that you implore when you look at moves like this with Andrew?
Sure. I mean, we understand the sort of industry standard in terms of value. We also do our own, analysis as far as that's concerned. But this was a pretty standard move. I don't think it was anything terribly out of the ordinary. For us, what was important was that we weren't giving up a pick to go do this. It was a pick swap. So, we basically moved back from 89 to 113. But we felt like that was a reasonable cost to go up and secure the player.
And when you first came to the Browns, you were instrumental in putting together kind of like guardrails of just, how to assemble the team and how to maintain an active roster and where to invest most of your resources and things like that. When you look at this off season, it really seems like what Andrew has done really fits that blueprint to a T. Could you just speak to how he has kind of gone about fitting within that roster building / roster maintenance plan that you kind of put together?
Sure. Well, I would say that all of us did. I think we have a shared vision of how we want to put this together, both in the short term and but also with some sort of eye toward the longer term as well. But as we've gone through the offseason, whether it's free agency or now in the draft, we're very much on the same page in terms of how we try to put all the pieces together, right? And that really is what it is each and every year. It's trying to put the puzzle together. So I think those rules, while it may seem rigid to have rules, the reality is they're quite flexible. You would think that maybe we're a team that doesn't move up, for instance. Well, we just moved up to go get the player that we want. So the rules that we do have in place, I think, are very flexible, and they're meant to try to give us the latitude to be aggressive when situations arise that we feel like could be advantageous to our club, especially short term and long term.
Thanks, Daryl. I believe Dan Lobby's ready to go now.
Hey, can you hear me now, Paul?
Yep.
You'd think I'd know how to use Zoom by now. When you look at Jeremiah, how do you view him I know he's listed as a linebacker, but how do you kind of view him as a player? Is he more than that to you guys?
Well, I mean, we see him as a linebacker. He's certainly very versatile. I know there's been talk about, that he could play strong safety or do lots of different things. I actually just think that speaks to his athleticism, and his versatility. But again, I think he fits our scheme perfectly at the linebacker spot, and that's where we would plan to play him. Now, Joe Woods, Jason Tarver, Ben Bloom, the guys that are linebackers, they can get pretty creative in terms of how they use our linebackers. I think they did an unbelievable job last year of using all the pieces we had in the linebacker room and trying to maximize the skills we had in that room. I think this gives them a really nice tool to work with.
And I think there's a lot of assumptions out there about how you guys value the linebacker position, if you value it as highly as other positions. So I guess, how do you view the position as a whole?
Well, we just traded up in the second round to get one, and we signed one in free agency. We took one last year in the third round with Jacob Phillips. So, I don't think any of these rules are sort of hard and fast. We want to have good players at every position, and I don't think there's any one position out there that we don't value. Now, there's certainly relative values, in terms of how you view one position versus another, but we value them all. And we want great players at every one of them. We'd love to have great players in every room. So, and linebacker is a spot where we've actually been pretty aggressive the last couple of years in terms of using some assets to make sure that that's a really good room. And they were highly productive for us last year, even without a big name guy in that room.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. We'll go to Tony Grossi.
Hi, Paul. This is like, I don't know, you have like 11 new players on defense already, if you count Greedy Williams and Grant Delpit, who didn't play at all. How much of an impact did the second Baltimore game and the Kansas City game have on your offseason acquisition plan?
Yeah, I don't think it was those two games in particular. I think it was just going through the whole season. We knew there were some things that we needed to try to shore up, on defense. When Kevin came aboard last year, we felt like the offense was awfully close. It was maybe a couple pieces away to being in really good shape. And we tried to adjust those in the offseason, with Conklin, with Jed Wills, with Hoop, Harrison Bryant. I mean, there were a handful of things we did that we thought were, nice touches to sort of finish off that puzzle. The defense, we knew was a little further away in terms of bringing it all along. Now, we had signed a lot of guys last year to one-year deals to try to get through a season, have a good defense. And again, credit to our coaches, what they did with all those guys. But we knew just based on the contract status that we were going to have to do a lot this offseason to try to rebuild that unit for 2021. So it was certainly an area of emphasis in free agency, and at least so far in the first two picks, it's been a focus for us here in the draft.
And you wouldn't have moved up unless you thought the player wouldn't be there. Was your intel that someone was honing in on him?
I won't go into all the details, but yes, I mean, we felt the need to go up and get him.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Tony. Mary Kay Cabot has her next question.
Yeah, Paul, do you think perhaps you guys were maybe the beneficiary of maybe some teams not really knowing what to make of JOK, because he is sort of that hybrid player, and maybe people didn't really quite know where to play him or what to do with him?
Yeah, I don't know if it was so much that they didn't necessarily know what to do with him. People run different schemes, and again, I think our scheme is perfect for him. So in that sense, maybe we were the beneficiary, in terms of having a scheme that was a perfect match for him. But I don't think there was much. I don't think people dispute what he can do, on the field.
Okay. And do you see him as a linebacker that even in your sub packages, whatever sub packages it is, especially because he can almost play safety at times, being on the field every down?
Well, I can tell you this, right before I came downstairs to jump on this call, I was in Jason Tarver's office with Joe Woods and Kevin Stefanski, and they were already up on the whiteboard, excited to talk about all the different things they could do with him. So I'll let them go into that at some time.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Mary Kay. Nate Ulrich.
Hey, Paul. A lot of people obviously heading into this had projected him as a first-round pick, and I just wanted to, ask you to cover all bases. Was there something in his medicals that you guys are aware of that you think made him available at this stage in the draft?
No, he didn't run a 40 at his pro day. And we knew he was sort of a little dinged up, but he participated otherwise, in his pro day. But no, there's nothing that would prohibit him, going forward with us medically.
Okay, and just if you're able to get a little more specific, is he a weak side linebacker in your system? And if so, just what are the traits that make him that perfect fit you spoke about?
Well, I think with each of our linebackers, we're looking for pretty similar traits, whether they're playing on the strong side or the weak side, or even playing Mike for that matter. I think, we want guys who are very rangy. We want guys who can stay on the field, can play against both the run and the pass, guys who can cover, but who also can, play downhill. And that doesn't mean they need to be a big thumper. Some guys can play downhill, keep blockers off of them, also slip blocks and make plays. So they do it in different ways. But I think we want all of our linebackers to have very similar skill sets.
Thanks, Nate. Scott Petrick, you're next.
Hey, Paul, there was speculation yesterday that he might not even make it to you guys at 26. So I'm curious, if Greg hadn't been there at 26, was he a guy you would have taken there?
He was definitely under consideration. I'll say that.
So then how surprised were you that he was still around at 52?
We're pretty happy. Yeah, no, there was a lot of pacing going on upstairs once we got to about pick 42, 43, 44, just trying to figure out if there was a way we could make it happen. So we were very excited about this.
Thanks.
Thanks, Scott. Marla Ridenour has her next question.
Yeah, Paul, obviously I've only seen highlight tape, but he seems like to play with such ferocity. Do you feel like that's, can infect your whole unit? You know what I mean?
Sure. No, I think he's got a great motor. He really does. And I think it's what we're looking for in general. We talk a lot about wanting players who are smart, tough, and accountable, right? And he certainly checks all those boxes. But there are times where he plays like his hair is on fire, and that's certainly attractive.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take two more. Let's try Jeff Shadell, and then we'll go to Tony Grossi.
Okay, I got it to work this time. So, Paul, we keep coming back to the same question. Why was he still around? Is there something that might have scared other teams away, or how could he still have been there for 52?
It's a great question, but that's not that it's not one we're going to concern ourselves with. Sometimes the board falls your way, Jeff. I think we were just fortunate in this case. Now he didn't get all the way to 59. Obviously, we had to move up to go get him. But there were a lot of good players that were available today that we were surprised about. And he wasn't the only one. And there were players, again, available at 40, 45, 50, even still players available right now that we're surprised are there. I think it's just the nature of the draft.
Thanks, Jeff. Final question to Tony Grossi.
Paul, just one question back about yesterday. Did you guys consider Caleb Farley draftable in the first round?
Tony, I probably shouldn't comment on him considering he was taken by, another team. But we were awfully happy to take Greg Newsome. I'll say that.